Hey everybody, this is Danielle from naturallyknockedup.com, and this is Holistic Hivemind episode number 3, and we are here with Rianna, who is a TCM practitioner, that's traditional Chinese medicine practitioner, and we're going to be talking about charting and how your monthly charts might have a little insight. Rianna is, like I said, a TCM practitioner, and she has certifications in acupuncture, herbal medicine, and body-mind nutrition, and she's also a certified strength and conditioning specialist. She's a mom of 3, an entrepreneur, loves the outdoors, exercise and nutrition, and servicing others. Her mission is to make you the best by bringing you to your full potential in body, mind, and spirit. Now, Rianna and her husband did deal with fertility issues, including miscarriage, which is why she's so passionate now in helping others achieve their family dreams and staying healthy. She worked as a TCM practitioner, focusing on women's health and fertility until having children of her own. And now she continues her work online consulting while being at home with her children. So welcome, Rianna. It's so good to have you here.
Thank you. It's so good to be here too and finally connecting.
So why don't we start a little bit in talking about how our monthly charting, and for those of you who are unsure of what I mean by charting, I mean talking about how, taking your basal body temperature every morning, tracking things like cervical fluid and cervical position possibly, so that we can kind of figure out what's going on with our hormones and our reproductive system, and we're able to kind of pinpoint ovulation and kind of increase fertility that way, so we know when we're actually ovulating. But what a lot of women don't know is that your charts actually can give you a lot more insight other than just specifically ovulation. And Rianna's here to talk about the details of that. So how does traditional Chinese medicine and charting even work together? How does it go hand in hand?
Okay, well, that's a really great question. And I'm not going to go into the specifics of all of the analyses based on exactly what's going on in a Western perspective. A lot of people get very hung up on, okay, my temperature rose by this, what does this mean? And it becomes a constant stress in the everyday charting because it's a constant reminder that you are working on this goal and that goal hasn't been obtained yet. And so what my approach is to look at the whole thing and to take it for what it's worth, and then to put the pieces together in a way that you can create a strategy to implement that strategy and work towards your goal in a really non-stress kind of a way. So you don't want to bombard yourself on a regular basis with all of those minute details, because that's just going to drive you crazy. And so today I would just want to give you an oversight as to how to take control of that. So it's really important to do it, but then to let it go. And then to put a plan into action, and then your brain can kind of rest, and you know that you've got steps to move forward. So let's have a look here at what I've put together so that you guys just have a visual. Okay, Danielle, can you see that there?
Yep, I can see it.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so this is just going to give you an insight. A lot of people are doing this already, so this might be information that you already know. But what we're looking at here are the different phases. So we've got our menstrual phase, our follicular phase, we've got our ovulation, and then we've got our luteal phase thereafter. A lot of people, actually, Danielle, on your chat group yesterday, I saw people talking about their ideal range of where they wanted to be. And so I just thought I would throw this in here, but it's not important based on what I'm going to be talking about today. But I know that that was a question that people were chatting about. And I don't want people to really focus too much on those details. So kind of have an idea of where it should be, but don't get hung up on it too much. And then we want to look at the ideal follicular phase and then the ideal luteal phase. So we want to be like 12 to 14 days on both ends. We're going to look at a specific case scenario here. So this was one of Danielle's followers, and she submitted some information to me. So this is her tongue, and you might think, okay, so what does the tongue have to do with basal body charting? The tongue is a map of our organs, and so it's really important for me to put all of these pieces together, not only through what your temperature is telling you, but also what your signs and symptoms are also saying. So in this case, this is a 43-year-old female. And she's got a red tip on her tongue. She's got swollen sides of her tongue, so that means she's carrying on to extra fluid. And she's got a little bit of a white coating on her tongue. So when I look at that, I think that she's got some issues with her spleen and with her heart. And you don't need to know any of those details, but that's how I can help. These are the charts that she submitted to me. This is January. Here's February. And here is March. So as you can see, there's no indication of ovulation in March. So we're going to go back up to January and February. And what we can see here, the other thing that you want to make note of are all of the signs and symptoms. So this part down here is really important in how I put all of those pieces together. So she's got a lot of signs and symptoms that are going to play a role into what her body is saying and what the imbalances are pointing out. So we've got a variation of temps high and low there. We've got a slight dip, and we've got the rise in temperature, which indicates that we've got ovulation happening. The temperature went up, so we've got some progesterone acting there, and then it came back down, and that is normal if you are not pregnant. So same kind of thing here, up and down, up and down. We've got a slight rise, up and down, and then back down again. So when I look at this, I want to look at each phase. There's 5 phases based on traditional Chinese medicine, and we look at the follicular phase, which is our yin phase. So we're going to look at everything in a balance. So we've got the yin side and we've got the yang side. So our first is our yin phase. Then our second is our ovulation, which is when we change our yin into our yang phase. Then we've got our luteal phase. Then we've got our premenstrual phase, and then we've got menstruation. Now, all of these are really important in Chinese medicine because we actually evaluate what is happening during that menstruation phase based on what your blood is actually telling you. And that's not something that Western medicine typically jumps into. So that's really important for us to have a look. Okay, so based on her charts, we saw a sawtooth formation. So sawtooth is kind of like when it's going up and down, like this, all over the place. Then we've got her length here. And then these are the corresponding symptoms that she was showing. So she was gassy, irritable, she was nauseous, she had foot cramps, tender breasts, and she was bloated and fatigued. When I look at that, then I put these pieces together, and I think that there's actually liver imbalances that are causing the spleen problems. Now, again, you guys don't need to know all of those details, but I do in order to put the plan together and to help you figure out ways to make changes. So then in the next phase in the ovulation, now there wasn't even an indication of ovulation happening in the most recent month, and the liver is actually responsible for ovulation to take place. So if we have already a corresponding liver issue, then it's going to be really hard for your body to ovulate. And so that's where we need to take the step to regulate this part in order to even have ovulation take place. Then in our third phase, the luteal phase, obviously super important to have the length the way that it needs to be. So hers is, it's kind of within the right range. So we want it to be 12 to 14 days, but with the imbalances that she's showing previously, the luteal phase will improve if she starts making changes to benefit and to balance that liver. And then these are the corresponding symptoms. And this is textbook symptom scenario for liver qi stagnation. And that's really cool to piece all these things together. So not only is her chart showing me that she's got some liver issues, but her symptoms are exactly what it's pointing to as well. So that's where we want to put everything together. Then in the premenstrual phase, again, we've got textbook scenario liver qi issues. And then we will further look into what's going on during her menstruation. So this is what I put together. What we want to do is we want to balance everything at each phase. So your chart, maybe I'll show my face here so that people can look at my face for a second. We'll just keep going. I don't want to deal with the technical stuff and then have too much of a pause. So, okay, so when we talk about the different phases, we can actually change our diet and our lifestyle habits within each phase to really optimize how to make changes within those phases. So this is what I would recommend to most people in phase 1. You'd want to be supplementing with these kinds of things, getting plenty of rest, and you don't want to have any excess stimulants. So alcohol and smoking is going to create an acidic environment, and then your energy drinks are going to cause too much stimulus within that phase. So those are my recommendations there. And acupressure is really beneficial to bringing blood flow to the proper organs and also helping with stress and obviously focusing on energy. So these are my recommended acupressure points during phase 1. Now, specifically, we are working on a woman that has liver issues. So we're going to combine some liver points, liver 3 and liver 4. We're going to combine some herbal medicine during that phase. Now, black cohosh is not something that you want to be having implemented after ovulation. So you just want to make sure that that is in the follicular and ovulation phase and stop it thereafter. And then you want to make sure that the blood is moving. So then you can incorporate these points. And then you create a little at-home acupressure protocol for yourself, which is really awesome to be able to implement. Then in phase 2, she had some signs of painful ovulation. So then we would implement some of these acupressure points. She showed symptoms of sore breasts and irritability. The emotional side is really, really important to tackle. It's kind of like what came first, the chicken or the egg. Your emotions could be causing a depletion of energy to the organs, or it could be the other side where the organs are actually causing the emotional stress to come out. And so we want to make sure that we're balancing everything there. And so these are the things that I would obviously include in her protocol plan to strategize ways to regulate that liver. Then in phase 3, again, we're going to go into a couple other points here. So the energy is really important. So chi is related to energy. So whenever you see that, just make note that it's just energy. We'll keep it really simple. So she wants to get enough exercise to have everything moving. And I also said that she's a 43-year-old woman. So she's at the advanced maternal age. And we want to make sure that those eggs are going to be the best quality that they are. And so we need to make sure that there's enough blood flow getting to the ovaries to be able to sustain the right development of those eggs to even have a chance to get pregnant. So these are the things that I would implement. A lot of emotional work, so getting rid of frustration, stagnated emotional tension. You want to laugh, you want to just smile, you want to breathe. And avoiding, obviously, we can go into a whole bunch of different things, but the preservatives and the toxins that you are constantly exposed to plays a huge role in your fertility. So again, you want to get your blood flowing to the ovaries, and I'm going to give you a couple of tips to be able to do that. Everybody can implement that, but especially if you are at an advanced maternal age, you really want to make sure that you're getting as much blood circulating there as possible. And then we want to harmonize the liver. So again, we're gonna throw in a couple of acupressure points there. During phase 5, we want to rest. So when you're bleeding, actually, you just want to take time out. You don't want to do anything that's going to cause any additional changes or stress. You just really want to take the time to meditate, breathe, and rest. Then we can start implementing food sources. This is from Dr. Randine Lewis, and she's written the book, The Infertility Cure. And she really gives a good insight into the specific differentiations. So a differentiation is not a diagnosis, but it can be analyzed in that kind of a way. So her differentiation for liver chi stagnation is going to give us these really awesome ways to implement to start changing our dietary lifestyle to help our organs. Some of the signs and symptoms that our 43-year-old woman was also experiencing was that she had low libido, brittle nails, dry hair. She had difficulty sleeping, heartburn, heart palpitations, and low in spirit and vitality. Now, the symptoms of heartburn, heart palpitations, and low in spirit are all connected to the heart organ. And that obviously makes sense. And when we looked at her initial tongue, we saw that in her heart area, which is the tip of your tongue, it was very red. And so that's showing me signs that there's too much heat going to the heart and it's causing the imbalance there. So traditional Chinese medicine wants to take control of the root cause of the problem. So my analysis here is that the root cause is our liver. And so it's our liver qi stagnation, which is causing heat. And that heat is rising up and it's disturbing the heart. So if we calm that liver down, then we take control of the issues that the heart is now showing as an imbalance. And so instead of just putting a blanket over some of the signs and symptoms, we really go after what the main cause is, and then all of those signs and symptoms start to settle down. So this is kind of my point by point. Once the liver energy is balanced, there will be less blockage in the body. The energy and the blood will flow freely, which will help with the emotional imbalances, and that's causing the other organs to be affected. And so obviously I think that the liver is the main thing, and then the signs of the spleen and the heart are going to settle down. And then we can obviously start looking through our basal body temperature through our charts to see if ovulation then starts to return. So because the heart is being affected, I would then add in a heart acupressure point to help calm the mind. Okay, so then if we want to take this a step further, then we incorporate how a typical day would look. So when I work with body and mind nutrition in mind, I really want to make sure that you're alkalizing every day. So alkalizing is going to change your pH so that you constantly are getting rid of the acidic nature of your body, and you're decreasing your toxic exposure internally. So you're able to detox while you eat this way without actually going through a huge cleanse. So what I typically recommend is having a half a cup of juice, organic or freshly squeezed, with filtered water with a pinch of Himalayan salt. That Himalayan salt is going to give you trace minerals that activate your enzymes. And so this first thing in the morning is going to help your liver detox. If you grab a cup of coffee right first thing in the morning, you're going to be throwing acidic beverages into your system, and you're going to be creating a cascade of events that's going to cause internal stress. So by just doing this one simple thing, having half a cup of juice, filtered water, and a pinch of Himalayan salt, you're going to allow yourself to detox everything that was stored from the night before while you were sleeping. Then what I would recommend, I know it's really busy in the morning and we're not all able to do this, but if you're able to meditate for 15 minutes just to get your mind settled and to move on to your day, that would be awesome. Then the next thing is you want to get all of your decent supplements in first thing and absorbed readily. So this is kind of what the concoction that I recommend. So specifically in her case, I'm recommending black cohosh, but only before ovulation. And she's going to take in her probiotics, her omega-3s. I really love marine phytoplankton. I think it's a powerhouse superfood. So that's what I would recommend in there. And then she can mix in whatever she wants for a smoothie. Then throughout the day, all you want to do is pack in as much fluid as possible to stay hydrated and make sure that you're at the cellular level, you're working optimally. And that's with alkaline water. So that's with a pinch of Himalayan salt and water. So as you can see, I've got water, 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 water. You just really want to time that so you get that in all day long. The fruit in between your meals is going to also help you alkalize. And specifically with Dr. Randine Lewis's dietary recommendations for liver qi stagnation, she really wants people to supplement with zinc. So we want to get in foods that have zinc. So we want to get in cashews, pumpkin seeds, squash seeds, spinach, wheat germ. Those are all zinc sources. So if we can combine a day that has everything readily available to us, specific to our needs, and make it really easy, then all of a sudden we're making that lifestyle shift in a really natural way to balance out our body. So it's pretty cool. And then as you can see, I just go on throughout the day. If you're able to do some exercise in the afternoon, walking, doing some yoga, doing some acupressure, those are all going to be really awesome things just with the mind-body connection. These are my general supplement recommendations for anybody that's trying to get pregnant. I added in down here the advanced maternal age. If you're able to get in your coenzyme Q10 and your L-arginine, those things are going to help bring blood flow to the reproductive system. It's going to help increase your energy, and it can also help with your libido. So if anybody is approaching their advanced maternal age, then I would suggest adding in those supplements there. Here's some additional information. So when we're looking at basal body temperature charting, we really want to make sure that you're analyzing it over a couple of months. And what that is going to do is it's going to give you an idea of from month to month if you're making any changes. If you're just starting to think about getting pregnant, I would wait a full 3 months before you even try to start conceiving. And within that 3 months, this is why. So it takes 150 days for the egg to develop from a follicle. Within that 150 days, that egg is going to be responding to the food that you're eating, to the stress that you're exposed to, and from the toxins that you're exposed to. So I really recommend that you take that 3-month time to make sure that when that egg is released, it's the best that it can be. And then you don't have to worry about any of the complications that might come thereafter if you're preparing properly. Now, this is a really beautiful quote from Dr. Randy Lewis. The ocean of our fertility doesn't dry up. It just becomes still. And with help, it can flow once more. So I want to give people hope. I want to give them an idea that they can make changes and give themselves a chance to be at the most optimal space that they could possibly be. And then we talked about bringing more blood flow to our ovaries. And this is how you can do it through acupressure and acupuncture. And so if you can incorporate acupressure on a regular basis, it's going to be fantastic. The femoral massage. When I go back to my face here, I'll show you how to do the femoral massage. It's a really good way to kind of just redirect blood flow and optimize where that blood is nourishing the body. Just to give you an idea, for anybody that's learning how to chart, this is what a pregnant chart looks like. So you've got your kind of stable temperatures in here. Your body's going to dip slightly in temperature, and then it's going to rise. And this is just the hormonal reaction that we have. And then if you're pregnant, it's going to stay high, and it's going to continue from there on. A short luteal phase. So the luteal phase is at the end here. If you have a short luteal phase, it's going to be really hard for you to get pregnant. The egg needs to implant, and if you don't have the right timeline to allow for the body to create that environment to implant, then it's not going to be able to happen. Then we've got our low temperature, and that specifically, Danielle, was the question that was thrown out was what happens if my temperature is too low? And you gave some really good advice on that. I'm going to throw in my 2 cents there. With low temperatures, you might want to get your thyroid checked. You want to get your metabolism checked out. In traditional Chinese medicine, this could be related to a low spleen energy. And so we can take different strategies to increase our spleen energy and balance that out. So you can get the test done. You can kind of see from a Western perspective what's going on, and then we can take it from there, and we can implement some strategies on a regular basis through traditional Chinese medicine. So I'm going to leave it at that. That's kind of a lot of analyses from me, and we can just start chatting. How was that?
That was great. I kind of forgot for a second that I was supposed to be interviewing somebody. I was like, oh, let me write this down. Wait, I'm recording it. I got
it. That's right. Rewind.
Now, what are some of the biggest issues you see with women's charts? Because working with women, you probably have them chart quite often.
Yeah.
What is kind of one of the big top 1 or 2 issues you actually find common in a lot of their charts?
Well, I think statistically, anybody that's doing stat reporting, you know that there is a variation of errors. And so having the most optimal scenario for taking your temperature is not always going to be consistent. So the recommendation is that you're not taking your temperature until you've been rested for about 3 hours. And anything can throw that off. So maybe, I don't know, like you forgot and you went to go brush your teeth, and then all of a sudden you popped in your thermometer thereafter. That can skew your results. So that's when I say don't get hung up on all of the very specific details of it. Just have a look at the whole picture and really just focus on how you can implement strategies to move over whatever your brain is like. We get consumed with what we're trying to do, and it just takes over, and that's not healthy. That's going to be causing, when I talk about the acid alkaline environment, anytime that you're releasing cortisol into your system, you're just going to be increasing that acidic environment. And if you're stressed about what your basal body temperature was in the morning and you carry that throughout your day, you're not setting yourself up for an optimal internal space. So that would be the long-winded answer of what I see typically. So I just say do it. have a record of it, but don't stress too much if it's not ideal.
Exactly. I find a lot, especially in the fertility world, that so many women give up charting because they get too stressed out about it, or
Absolutely.
the tenth of a degree drop or raise, or trying
Yeah.
to like really dissect it. And I kind of tried that myself for a while, and there was no way I could keep up with it. And so I really kind of, now I just keep that record as something to kind of look back on, to kind of see how my body has been doing. And, it just kind of really became habit to take my temperature every morning, but I didn't really worry about those little minuscule, ups and downs. It's just kind of nice to have an overview of my health, kind of at an internal level, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what you touched upon there, just with people giving up on the charting, don't give up on the signs and the symptoms that your body is manifesting. Those are really important. And that can give insight into your practitioner's differentiation of what's going on. So if you can make notes, like I said specifically, if you can make changes throughout the different phases of your cycle based on what those signs and symptoms are presenting, then it's going to be really important for us to have an idea of what those signs and symptoms are saying and at what time they're saying them.
Right. Yeah. I was really kind of shocked once I started charting, because I did, all my symptoms and everything. I never really realized that I had certain symptoms at certain points of my cycle.
Yeah.
That was news to me. I mean, I thought I was crazy all the time. I just I had no idea that my emotions changed based on whether I had ovulated, or whether I was in the follicular phase or luteal phase. And once I really started jotting down not only physical symptoms but my emotional symptoms as well, it really clued me in to think, okay, this might really just be my hormones.
Yeah.
I mean, you really don't like it when other people tell you that, but if
No.
you can kind of take a step back a second, be
Yeah.
like, okay, maybe this isn't as bad as I think it is. It could just be, the way that I'm reacting right now. In 2 weeks, things will be different. So yeah, I really found that my emotional symptoms were really important for me to jot down as well.
Yeah. And those emotions, they, for just some insight into what traditional Chinese medicine does, the signs and symptoms connect to specific organs, and specific emotions connect to specific organs. So, for instance, anger, irritability, and depression, and rage. Actually, the 43-year-old woman that sent me her information, she said that she had rage throughout the month, and that's all connected to that liver. And so, if you can pinpoint where that emotional flare up is coming from, or depletion even, then you can really start channeling which energy needs to be focused on.
And that, I think, is so huge for so many women.
Absolutely.
Because let me tell you, my first couple of years of marriage were, I mean, they were great, sure, but I did what most of the women here in the U.S. do, and I got on the pill for a few years, and rage was my biggest issue. I mean, I don't know how my husband put up with me some days, because it was way too much. I mean, I could barely deal with myself.
Right.
So knowing that, there are physical issues behind that as well, that there's an organ that needs to be supported, I think is really important for women as a whole to realize. So on that aspect, where can we get more information about that? Especially how, emotions are tied to physical symptoms. Do you have a good resource for that?
If you Google anything with traditional Chinese medicine, there's going to be textbook answers for that. So most charts that are going to be giving a scenario of this organ is connected to these emotions. It's also going to give you a rundown of the signs and symptoms that are also connected to that organ. Like I mentioned, Dr. Randine Lewis, she's probably one of my mentors in the fertility and traditional Chinese medicine combo. And so if you were to Google her name, those resources are going to be the ones that I would really recommend.
And what else I really like about this was that you were able to really give a rundown of possible issues for this woman, because so many of us don't have access to holistic practitioners, and
Yeah.
it really goes to show that you don't actually necessarily have to go visit, you know, someone. You don't have to drive 2 hours to the nearest big city to find a holistic practitioner to work with.
Mhm.
There are so many like you who actually work online and are able
Absolutely.
to really dissect things just from, I mean, a picture of the tongue and a few charts and her filling out your questionnaire. You were really able to figure out and kind of pinpoint what, you know, the root issue is and give really concrete examples on what she can do to fix them.
Yeah, I miss the one-on-one face-to-face time. I feel like a lot of things come up when you are working with someone in that closed environment. But you're right, not everybody has, look at our North American lifestyle, it's busy. And to fit everything in is sometimes impossible. So to have somebody to connect with, I think that's why I love what you're doing with your page. It's giving people a group that they can really focus on other people that understand what they're going through. And then to take that another step further, if you can then connect to professionals that can give you really good advice, then that's just opening up a whole other world of opportunity. So I do miss the one-on-one time, but I still feel like my mission in life can be carried on in this other way, which is really cool.
Right. So how then now do you actually work with clients? How does that look like, or what does that look like for you?
It would be basically, I set it up, my presentation, exactly how I would set it up with anybody that I was working with. So I do an analysis of the three main things. So your chart, your tongue, and the questionnaire that you submit to me. And then through that, then I give you just a rundown of what I think is going on and ways that you can start making change, and a specific acupressure protocol. Oh, the one thing that I wanted to go back to is the femoral massage. So if you were to just put your hand on your inside of your groin, you're going to find your femoral artery. You have to push pretty deep and you have to kind of play around, but it's basically the crease that's connecting your abdomen to your leg. And once you find that femoral pulse, what you're going to do is you're going to block it off. And you're going to actually redirect the blood from the femoral artery through the iliac artery. And that iliac artery is going to nourish your reproductive organs. So all of a sudden you're taking the blood from going this way and you're going to be redirecting it back into that space that can bring more blood flow to the right area. And you want to do that for about 30 to 40 seconds and then take a break. Do the other side and then go back and forth, maybe 2 or 3 times if you're able to. And that's just going to bring fresh oxygenated blood to the right organs that need that extra push. And so if you're in an advanced maternal age, that's going to be awesome for you to be able to implement on a regular basis.
That's awesome. I actually, two summers ago, I worked with a woman who did the abdominal massage.
Okay.
And it's really, yeah, when you mentioned that, I'm like, oh yeah, she hit that point a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really very interesting how just that small amount of massage there really, it felt like it was so much more open, and it's kind of hard to explain, but I was very very pleasantly surprised at how much just a little bit of massage in that area could really help.
Nice. Yeah. And I think that's where you have to make the connection with who you're seeking help from. It has to be comfortable. So you may not be into what I do, and you're like, she's kind of out there, and this is something that just doesn't make sense to me, and that's totally fine. But if you find a massage therapist, maybe that's more in line with what you believe. And so you really want to tap into that, and you just want to make sure that you're comfortable with what you're doing and you're taking the steps to make your situation the best that it can be. And so then if you have these, constant reminders through your subconscious that you're in a bad space, you're not happy with, like where your efforts are lying, if you're taking steps towards making that goal happen, then you can rest that mind at ease to say, I'm doing everything that I possibly can. And you just kind of let that negativity go, because it needs to go.
Right. Well, and I think what's really important too is that even at, practitioner to practitioner, it can be so different.
Yeah.
Because I find that working with holistic practitioners, especially ones who really focus on not only the physical but the emotional aspects, is you kind of need you really need to connect with that person.
Yeah.
It's, for me, it was so different than going to my OB, because you just don't have that same connection. You know, they go through a few physical symptoms and, you know, you're kind of on your way in 5 minutes. But I've been to, you know, naturopaths and herbalists and my massage therapist, among others, and you sit down and you talk with them for, you know, sometimes a half an hour and an hour. And, you know, there were a couple of times where they were great. I thought their information was great, but I just didn't have that one-on-one connection with them. And so I kind of moved on and found someone else within that same field. And that doesn't mean that she was not good at what she did. We just didn't connect.
Yeah, and that's an energy thing too. We all feed off of people differently. So if you're not feeling it, then I feel like you can find a good fit. It's just a matter of exploring what is out there.
Exactly. And it's funny you should mention that, because the one that I didn't really connect with seemed very introverted to me.
Okay.
And, you know, introversion and extroversion, it's all how we find our own energy. And I am a huge introvert myself. And while I love people and I love being around people, I find energy in being alone. So
Yeah.
I have a lot of introverted friends, but it's fun. They don't energize me the way that, say, an extroverted person might. So
Yeah.
in a lot of ways, I almost look for not the opposite, but an energy that complements mine when I work with somebody. Otherwise, yeah, I kind of just left feeling, I need a nap.
Yeah, no, it's a really good point that you're making for sure.
So as we kind of wrap it up here,
Mm-hmm.
what is kind of your one big fertility tip that most women can implement right away, and that kind of works well for everyone?
I think my biggest thing is so simple: breathing. We're very shallow breathers, and we don't allow for that oxygen to go to the right places and to fuel our body in the right way. And let's face it, we're human beings. We need that to survive. And if we're not being nourished with that, then everything else that we're doing is going to be having a harder time to function. So if you're able to do some conscientious breathing throughout the day, and decrease your stress as much as possible, then everything else that you're doing will just work so much better.
That's a great tip. Perfect. Okay, remind me again of your website address.
www.riannaposkin.com. So RIANNAPOSKIN.com.
Perfect. I will put that in the show notes below, along with kind of a transcript of our talk here. And yeah,
Fantastic.
Thank you so much for going through that with us today. That was really informative, and I really hope everybody really learns a lot, because I did.
Good. No, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for all the work that you do. I think it's so important, and it's making a difference in a lot of people's lives.
I hope so. I just kind of try and do the things that I wish were around when we first started trying to conceive, because at that point there was almost nothing online, and I'm really excited the last few years, all the books and the practitioners that are really coming out online, focusing on natural fertility, because it is so important, and there are so many people out there struggling.
Yeah.
So yeah, all right. Well, that wraps it up for episode 3. And I don't know what we have on the books for next time. I've got a couple people I'm pinging to do interviews with. So if you have any burning questions and things that you want to know, go ahead and shoot me an email through my website, naturalfertilityandwellness.com, and I'll see if we can't find a professional that's an expert in that area. So thanks again, Rianna. It was great.
No problem. Take care.